already know this, but for those of you that don't know, we successfully filed my first bill last week.
Yeah.
And it's the Forever Chemical bill. For those of you that don't know, I do not know, PFAS, which is polyfluor oil talc, it is the Forever Chemical. And I learned about it right after I filed a year ago, sitting in the back of Commissioner's Court. Dana Ames pulls in this table on wheels with 4 bases of fresh flowers, starting from white to ivory to tan to brown. And by watching her presentation, I understood the danger of PFAS, because those carnations were sitting in water from a stream in Johnson County, taking up from that water these chemicals that are now being spread in our land in southeastern Johnson County. It showed very little time for the white just put in the water to a longer time, a month to 6 weeks. Our cattle are eating the grass that is doing the same thing. We are consuming products, the same PFAS chemicals. I was horrified. I called Dana the next day. I said, if I win this election, if I'm elected, I'm going to take that on. It's going to be my first bill, and I'm going to bring it home to you. That, the first step, happened last week. So now we wait. And this is the second thing we're going to talk to you about, which is the situation in Austin right now about our caucus, about our next speaker in the House. I think you all, how many are aware of this division? Okay, so what happened, all 88 House Republicans were in caucus. Everyone was there. We did not even know that there were 26 Republican members that were not going to support Cook. We took a vote, Cook won. We took another vote, Cook won. It was not the majority. 26 members got up and walked out. We were blindsided. We gave them 2 hours, because there's a lot of misinformation out in the media. We gave them 2 hours to come back in and do a third vote. 14 of them did come back. We had a majority. We took a vote. Cook was nominated. He went outside, had the press conference. I had been nominated by our Republican caucus with a majority in quorum to be the nominee for the next Speaker of the House. 1 hour later, Dustin Burrows gets on and has a press announcement that I have all 76 votes. So, since then, to make a long story short, we have a real issue in who's going to be elected on the 14th. He's going, and he is 26, and he's actually pledged, and he has said he will appoint Democratic chairs if he is elected Speaker, which again we all know is what killed our conservative grassroots policies last year, in the last session. That's going to happen. And he has already said that he looks forward to working with the Democrats for his agenda. In other words, it is a continuation of Dave Dillon's 88 session. And I think, and Reagan's quote, we are one generation away from losing our freedom. Yes. And I think this is the time that we're going to be the most vulnerable to do that. So I ask all of you, if you know anyone in the 26 representatives, anyone in those districts, tell them how important it is to talk to their representative and explain that we as Republicans, we have to be unified. We have to get David Cook in as Speaker, and I think then he will unify all of the factions in the Republican group. But it's just critical. Questions, John?
Yeah, how do we get their names?
The 26 are posted.
Oh, where at?
We will get that right here.
Okay, great.
With the numbers. We have been calling them Albert. It's one of my oldest, one of my very first. It's Albert. And we don't want to threaten them. We don't want to say to them, or else. We just want to explain the unity of the caucus and the vote is the most important thing for us to achieve right now. I'm telling you all the stuff about the hearing and our conservative policy being told. We have to get in all that. We just have to come to unity if we want our conservative policy to be on the agenda, get our bills through the session. So that's my first thing to tell you about. Then, well, actually, yesterday, I met with Sid Miller, our Commissioner of Agriculture and Recreation, Stephen Hill. Dana, are you here?
She couldn't make it this morning.
Okay. And Commissioner Lloyd and Troy Fuller, the Johnson County team that discovered this, the Forever County. So when we got the bill through, we got the bill filed, I got a hold of Sid, Ken Paxton, and Ken is Monday, but we know it's yesterday, and he is in full support of the bill. So we had the Commissioner of Agriculture in the state of Texas supporting the policy. So I am hoping, even if we don't win the speakership, I'm going to present it as a bipartisan bill. Everyone is affected. Every generation, all farmers, all ranchers are all affected. So I'm hoping it will be received as bipartisan so that it will be successful, whoever wins the speaker. So that was a great day. He was very excited about it. Hi, Kerwin. Okay, you're just in time because the second news I have, go ahead and sit down, is day before yesterday, our new DA, Tim Good, and I have wanted to establish a trafficking task force with teeth that will do something in Johnson County. Kerwin, who just walked in, is the one that brought the idea to me, and she said that we just need to do something. So Tim and I, Mary Wells, whose daughter was a victim of this several years ago, Pastor Troy Brewer at Open Door, had a meeting yesterday to see what is the reality of forming this task force so that we can get, there's so many splinters of support for what's going on, but we need to bring them together. We need something that will follow up for these kids that are rescued after the fact and not just check a box. We got them.
Are we talking drug trafficking or sex trafficking?
We're talking both, but sex trafficking is the primary.
Okay.
Because of the numbers.
Human trafficking. All human trafficking.
Tim campaigned on this. He is ready to go. Dana Ames has volunteered. Larry Willie has volunteered. If any of you want to volunteer for this task force, we need movers and shakers. John, tell James. Where's James? James, I've not introduced you. James Weselick is the chief of staff. James has done 4 sessions. I need someone that knows the halls of the house so I can get right to business. He is awesome. He just knows everything about the house and about our candidates, elected and incumbents. So he will be readily available to any of you in my office. And my office is 216.
E1, 216.
Well, 41, but 216. So door's always open.
Outside the cafeteria. Easy.
Ask for the post office. I'm right across from the post office, so it's an easy office to find. But we are so excited to start this task force. Tim will be in charge. And Mary Welch volunteered to take it on to Carolyn. Did I tell you about that the other night? Mary Welch has volunteered to mover and shaker. Dana Ames, who was involved in this, who's the one that got all of the research and data together for us for the Forever Chemical Bill, wants to get involved in this too. So please feel free to volunteer and tell James today. Okay, so the next thing is I know that I campaigned on securing the border. I campaigned on school choice. Those were my biggest issues. I am trying right now to address local issues like the chemicals and trafficking and trying to get that done until I get down there, because the one thing I learned is that government is run by people that show up. So, and there's several down there that don't show up. I've learned that in orientation. They would come in and they would sign in, and then we wouldn't see them again till the next class, and they'd come in and sign in, and then we wouldn't see them again. So it's going to be a juggling game. I'm loving it. So any issues that you have and you want to bring to me, I just can't wait to take on. Please feel free to do that. I'm going to continue with the border, of course. That was my number one point. I think with Trump being elected, we're going to see some very swift action, and even more importantly, he's going to support Governor Abbott in anything he can do, which we did not have, as you know, with Biden. The biggest bill, most important bill, forming the Texas Border Patrol unit was still on the floor. What again, Governor Abbott, so much more power, but I think he did an awesome job anyway in Shelby Park. But with Trump being elected, I really think we're going to see some fast, quick action that we're all going to be pleased with. I will support it. School choice. I know that a lot of you here are probably very concerned with school choice. We know nothing about it. I know that the bill is probably being written right now. I have heard rumors that it may be dip funding, it may be several bills, it may be 2 bills. I just don't know. I can't answer those questions today. But I do know that I think that they learned their lessons from HB1. There were enough voices out there, Kayla in particular, that hopefully they learned to take away some of the negative and bad things in that bill. I am still pro school choice. Conceptually, I think that we have to do something. Less than 50% of our kids are on grade level. We throw more money into the budget every year. No more accountability, though, with that extra money. So I just don't know the specifics of it, other than we have to do it and use it. We just have to do it. And with that, I would like to open it up for questions.
We need to introduce our silver-haired legislator.
Oh my gosh, where is she?
Jean
There she
Moss.
is, yes, okay. So, I just met Jean Moss, who is 54 years being a realtor in Johnson County. I mean, she's a mover and a shaker. She started the Texas Silver-Haired Legislature. I got to talk to her at Tim Good's swearing in the other day, and I said, I want to join. Tell me how to join. So she is here today. Jean, do you want to say any comments about it?
I just want to say that we meet in the Capitol. We will be distributing literature down there to newly elected persons, which I never heard today. And we stay on top of what's going on down there. The bills that get to the floor are bills that are sponsored. We write bills and try to look for a legislator to present them, because you've got to get to committee, and when they go to committee, you're a group that represents people over 60 years old. Some of you may not be there yet, but you're going to get there. We testify in committee how it would benefit. They say not to use the word senior, but I'm well aware I'm a senior. And we tell them what effect it will have on that group of Texas. But we're always looking for members. It's a volunteer. They don't fund us, we fund ourselves. Keep that road hot going to Austin, and I-35 needs widening.
And TSHL.org is the website. TSHL, Texas Silver-Haired Legislator.org, TSHL.org to get in contact with that organization. Sorry.
Okay. Awesome, that's great. Okay, so questions? Yes.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
First off, it's good to see this gathering here that's interested in local elected positions that we have, and we're grateful to be here. Hopefully this will continue. And I'm very happy to hear that David Cook is the choice that we're talking about here today. Burroughs he's not a friend of local government. In his opening statements, he was going to get cities and counties in check. Well, there are others already in position for this. And Senator Hall, Senator Mays Middleton, Senator Betancourt out of Harris County, for the last two sessions have tried to introduce and push a bill through. It's called a taxpayer-funded lobbyist bill.
Yes.
And are there any here other than just a couple maybe here that exactly know what that means? What that means is we cannot have legal representation to represent cities and counties in Austin. They do not want us there. Senator Brian Birdwell, formerly our local senator here, told me to my face in the last session, make sure that it would be good if you guys didn't show up for the first 60 days and then come back the rest of the session and you can complain and we'll all go home. That is the sentiment of what is going on there. I've been blessed to be here 16 years into this last year and just got sworn in this week as another 4 years. Also, I'll be the state rep for the local County Judge and Commissioners Association. I'll be there along with Ms. Kerwin and others fighting for this. But let me just tell you, Mays Middleton is already, I don't know, has their bill number been assigned yet?
I don't know about the number, but this is his first bill he files every session.
Yes.
No.
And so what that means, let me break this down. The County Judge and Commissioners Association, we depend on our association for continued education. We have to have that. It's a requirement. We have to have that. We learn more in the halls talking to constituents at those conferences than we do from the actual classes, if you know what I mean, because it's just like this setting. We're all here to learn something. They want to take that ability away. Johnson County participation to be a member of that association is $3,800 a year. That's what it costs Johnson County. There's 254 counties. Everybody has, based on population, has a commitment to that. During the session, we knock on doors with all the members to thank them for a bill if it's going to be beneficial to the county. But if it's going to be somebody's good idea that has unintended consequences that we all recognize, we try to say, hey, can we modify this? Can we practice this? Can we change the dynamics of the population? They don't want us there to be able to have those conversations. And they are calling me a taxpayer lobbyist because you pay my salary. So that's where we're going with all. That's how the bill is written down. So Ms. Kerwin, my plea is that if they want to indeed take away and eliminate a lot of that happens down there, the bribery, the buying, the dinners, all of that.
The swamp.
The swamp. Take the local elected county commissioners association, the sheriff's association, all of these that we need to run our counties efficiently without being a rubber stamp or whatever comes our way in an unfunded mandate in the future. We need to be excluded from that bill. If they want to, I'm all for get rid of the swamp, but we are not the swamp. We are an arm of the state, and we need everybody in this room. This list also needs to be included on. We do not want to see our local electeds not have a voice at all. And I'll stop there.
Could I ask you a question?
Yes.
Where do they get the nerve to try that?
And it's to the point it's the same nerve as getting elected, showing up, signing a roster, and leaving for whatever they want to do that day, and then coming back. It's
Because we need a list of names
Yes.
of people that we are working against. Because every drive, every movement needs a list of target names. Because these guys, I mean, I lived in Austin for a long time, and I used to get out of the list, and it's just nonsense. Half of them don't show up. Half of them got something that's against the taxpayers, and it just goes on and on.
If I may, not to just keep this going, I'll give you an example of how it's working over there. I left here at 6 a.m. during the COVID, during the last session. They had all the Army tents out there, the National Guard. We got swabbed and we set 15 or 20 minutes to go inside. I was there to testify against the taxpayer lobbyist bill then it was introduced. And at 10 a.m., I was there early enough to get in and do it. They moved it to 2 p.m. Okay? I signed up again. They moved it to 8 p.m. I signed up again. They moved it to 2 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
At 4:30 a.m.,
Oh, sweet.
I got to testify. And that's how the game is played. So I'm just saying, I'm grateful and thankful that we're gonna have somebody that will stand up and there's only limited numbers, so we've gotta have our voice heard in Austin. Not through just Ms. Kerwin, myself, and others, but we have the right to representation. And we cannot allow them to take away our right to representation through the taxpayer lobbyist business.
Thank you, guys.
Two things on that. Two things on that. Maybe Middleton,
Can I say something first? Excuse me.
Sure.
Everybody who's gonna stand up and talk, can you please identify yourself so the rest of us will get to know who you are?
I certainly apologize. I am County Commissioner Rick Bailey, Precinct 1, in office, 4 terms.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Oh.
One thing too, Rick, do you have some verbiage that you could share with us for us to contact? Because this is the first I've heard of a negative aspect of this taxpayer lobbyist bill. And so it'd be really helpful if you could put some kind of verbiage together. Sorry, Cable Lane, apologize because. It'd be really helpful if you could put some verbiage together so that we have something to share with
We have a lot of publication that has already been published through County Progress Magazine. We've been on several different shows about this. I expect to be on another with Mr. Cooper in the very near future, soon to get a bill number on that. But I will certainly, at the next, and I'm told we're gonna do this, as often as possible. So I've got your information.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Greg Cooper, Texas Transparency Project. I just do a local kind of awareness thing. TML is obviously a massive piece of this. Is there room for some form of regulation regarding taxpayer fund levy? For example, in the education space, there's almost 700 independent taxpayer-funded lobbying entities. So is there some space for some form of regulation on how this works to where you're getting the benefits of something like TML, which obviously has some productivity there, but the more nefarious types of lobbying with big business and some of the other entities, is there any room for that type of stuff? And I really need to sit down and learn about this.
Yeah,
because
well, absolutely. There's got to be something on, but to just be inclusive of 100% to not allow us the right. If there's going to be any breakouts or anything changed in what the language of the bill that will be presented, my fight is to ensure that we have the right to hire representation who is a lobbyist. We use Allison Bass and McGee. They have been representing counties. In fact, most of the statutes that are beneficial to counties over the last 30 years have been a direct result of the work my predecessors and people before us and those that are involved today have managed to keep it to where we can function.
Okay.
An unfunded mandate, I'll give you a couple of examples. The state says you shall provide indigent health. Taxpayers in Johnson County pays about $1.6 million a year for indigent health. We shall provide indigent defense. We spent 1.2. You don't have a lawyer, we're going to get you one. They send us the money. Don't just implement these laws and these rules and put it on the backs of the taxpayers. But if we lose the right to representation down there, what's that going to look like, ladies and gentlemen? Everybody's good idea is going to have those consequences, and it's going to be, well, go to your voters. We're living under a 3.5 cent rate now on a revenue cap. We will work off of no new revenues, and we're hoping to continue to be able to do that with the growth that we have. But those are going to have huge costs if we're not able to go down and fight.
So we got four House bills ready that are filed. I'll send them to you because they're going to piggyback on May's motion.
With
I
regard to
called
unfunded mandates, what happens if you just tell them no? No, give me a laugh.
Well, the governor can remove us from office for not doing the state and sound. Everything that the counties do is governed by the state of Texas. The policies that are in effect, we must follow the way.
So you will do what you're told and take no risk of being removed from office. We as a commission would that
Dwayne,
what
I
we
would
need.
most likely step down before I went to the taxpayers and just become a rubber stamp. I hope everybody here knows that.
Okay, I called Maze when we talked about, this is his first bill and it's its biggest mission, because I talked to you about this. And the conferences, the associations, he told me are very different. In his bill, I've not read the bill, but he said he pledges that he will not take that out. Remember, I called you on that. So I am hoping, James, will you make sure we follow through on that? All right, I'm hoping that he's got that bill right.
You know, behind, I'm sorry.
So you're protected as far as the associations.
Well, we need all of them. You got the sheriff's associations. They have their own people to mandate what they do,
They're
their
included.
roles. So, you know, I mean, it's not just about the judge and commissioners. There are other associations that must have a continued education, that must have the ability to have representation during the session on their level. So it's bigger than that. From my fault, for my fact, the County Judge and Commissioners Association, that's my role. They've got to have their folks go out and work for themselves as well.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
What about foreign countries buying our Texas land up?
Okay, that was one of the 9 bills that was killed at the end of the 88th session because of the school choice bill.
Did they come back now?
It did. So 7 of those were awesome, conservative grassroots bills. And that to me, well, the Border Protection Unit was number 1. The CRTMI bird is number 2. That China buying China lands, like farmlands, is huge. And I know the group that I am involved with right now, we're the grassroots, we're the freshmen. That is one of our number 1, other than the border, the school choice. We are talking about that a lot. Yes, that has got to be addressed. It's a high priority with me. And hopefully we will revisit that bill. And the time we've lost since it was defeated, we can make it even better. So thank you for bringing that up.
How can we put more pressure on the people trying to defeat our cause? For instance, I did a lot of publicity stunts with a conservative politician for a while, and we actually got a lot of airtime from the networks because we were in their face, and it was always fun and friendly, but we didn't stop. And of course, the candidate ended up getting about 8 knives in the back because he was sued by 7 other members of the city council, but we were effective. we won a lot.
So I think he answered his own question.
I think so too.
My name is Bonnie Tarver, and I am just an activist. And the way to do it is to show up, speak up, and do it again and again and again, as often as we need to.
It's government run by people that show up. I mean,
Yes.
it's just a fact in Austin. And
Now, Helen,
just, like,
so-
hit the pavement, make the phone calls. These 26, you just can't post it once, you gotta post it every 2 weeks. Until we vote on the 14th. Just do what John did, that's all I can say. And run for office. Run for office. I was in a group. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna, from a retired educator point of view, a few things, since somebody brought up. Please know that there is, while they're related, there is a difference between school choice and vouchers. I'm simply encouraging you to know the difference. Second, for those of us under Texas teacher retirement system, plus some of our first responders, police and firefighters and so on, there has been a lowering of our Social Security because of a bill back in the 80s. that bill has been repealed. It was called WEP, Windfall Elimination Provision, or Government Pension Offset. And it meant that even though we'd earned our 40 quarters for Social Security, it was lowered. That has been repealed and is supposed to be signed by Biden tomorrow. So that is good news, not just for teachers, but a lot of first responders got into that too. The other thing I would say on education, and I'm looking toward, the use of the STAR test is a problem.
Amen.
Yes, it's not the idea of seeing where the kids are. It's that test has become the be-all and end-all. And that is a problem, because then there are things we are not able to teach the kids because we have to teach to the test.
Absolutely.
I disagree.
Teachers
I disagree. Teachers, and I was one for 41 years.
35 for me.
Okay. So if I don't have a standard to which I teach to, then I don't have a mission that I should accomplish. I'm just paid to be there and make up whatever I'm doing. And that's what we see in the schools too much, because the point of schools, which everybody forgets, is to ready people for work.
Right. And again, I will say, teachers do not have a problem with seeing where the kids are and what is needed for them. It's that the STAR test, again, has become the be-all and end-all.
The standard.
You are
not
graded.
textbooks.
The teachers
Well,
are
there's so many
graded
amendments
by.
to it. You can have 9 different ways that you can flunk the test and still get a high school diploma.
Yeah.
What good is it?
That's it. And teachers are not able to teach. For instance, I was a librarian technologist the last part of my career. And the kids were not really being taught thinking skills. That's why we see, my view, that's why I think we see some of the problems we do in the colleges, because the kids were not really taught to think. Plus, I was a special educator for a number of years, and those tests, they are not good for the special ed kids.
Well,
Again, yes,
Sorry, go ahead.
some things, we do need to know where they are and what their issues are. But the STAR, as it is used, has some issues.
Yeah, I agree. It needs some accountability, needs to be, as part of the big school choice things, we need more accountability, but I agree with test is obsolete and not productive. Yes.
Well, I'd like to offer, so my name is Nova Olson. I live in Godley. I'm Precinct 30 chair. So I represent the people in Precinct 30 in Johnson County.
And she's scary.
Yes.
However, I also am a mom of a daughter who is going to Tarleton, trying to finish her degree to be a high school English teacher. And the system is absolutely and completely and in every way, shape, and form broken in a very disgusting way. Teachers are not being taught. Tarleton itself is in complete chaos. The education program is in complete chaos. These students don't know where they're at. They don't know where they're going. They're not being taught about teaching. And my daughter is, at this point, spending an extra semester because they don't know what they're doing to help her. And she has spoken to her instructors and said, why are we doing the things that we're doing? And they say, well, we don't really know. And, what you're going to learn when you get out there, you're going to learn, how to teach. Mm-hmm. And she said, why aren't you demonstrating what we should be doing in this atmosphere that I'm spending tens of thousands of dollars? She showed me the teats, some of the things. They don't know why They're not telling them how to get to the point where they can pass the test to get certified. My granddaughter in Granbury has a student teacher right now. She said, I don't know what I'm doing. She's student teaching right now. So we have a huge education system, our TEA, our TASB, all these different, this is a political system that's set up to make money, not to help teachers to be good teachers who have standards already. So whether or not we can do anything about that now, but everybody needs to understand that this entire system is broken. I don't know at this point how many more semesters they're going to add on because they don't know really. My daughter has to take a class next semester that they told her she did have to take, then she didn't have to take it, then she did, but now she has to take it and they don't have staff. They don't have staff, she has to take it. She said, so let me understand, I have to take a class that I have to pay for, that I have to teach myself. And they said, yes, basically. So our entire system of education is broken in this state.
What I find.
Let me say two really, go ahead.
Okay. What I find is that a lot of the teachers that do come out don't last very long.
Yep.
You know, and those of us who stuck with it, yeah, there were things we still needed to learn, but we stuck with it. Of course, I was better off because my parents were both teachers, so I knew exactly what I was getting into. But I smiled somewhere in there because my parents and my brother, who was also a teacher, and I sat down one time and said, we really ought to write a book about everything they didn't tell you in education classes. You know, because there are a lot of things you only got.
I just, really quick, so Kayla Lane again, Gulf ISD School Board Trustee. Along to Ms. Olson's point, the system is broken on purpose, and we have to understand the globalist agenda that is attacking our public education system, and it is purposely broken. And we are fighting against a globalist regime to dumb down our population because an educated population is more difficult to control. And I have gotten so much backlash as a trustee for pointing this out, and then the administration pegs me against the teachers. This has nothing to do with teachers. The teachers are just the sad, they're stuck in this broken system and they have no choice. But we have to understand it is a much bigger issue. It is a much bigger issue. I don't know what the solution is. I mean, I'm trying my hardest to fight it in any angle I know. But it is a big, huge problem coming down.
Helen,
have you all had access to Twitter in the last week where Ayn Rand, a lot of you were way too young to realize who Ayn Rand is. Some had forerunner conservatism, capitalism. Her interview resurfaced from the 1960s, and the first line that she said is, American universities is where this is starting.
That's what it was.
Well,
and that's where it started.
Yeah.
And Nova, I met with her daughter Lily yesterday, so impressed. She's taking this on. So impressed with her. That's what it's going to take. And I told her, I said, you just got to keep knocking on the doors. You just got to keep on.
But young people, you know, she's 27. She's 27. She's been working hard for a number of years. 20-year-olds don't know what to do. You know, they don't know what to do. They don't know where to go. I also want to just point out too that the TEAC system is, you know, this whole entire system is bad. It's bad enough that someone I work with, her daughter finished her dissertation just recently about the TEA, and it was so damning to them that they had her paper embargoed for 2 years. So, you know, we sat down and talked a little bit, and the people who are making these TEACs, they don't know their subject matter. They sit around in a room, they laugh. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, that sounds fine. Just write it, whatever. You know, they laugh about it. There's video. You know, of these type of things happening. So our education system, you know, we at whatever point we can I mean, we have a lot of important things that are going on, but that entire system, thank you for bringing that up, it's on a precipice
And there's something that
of, you know, being uneducated, having uneducated kids, because we're turning out kids who don't know.
Helen and I are in contact with each other, and I've told her,
Because she's already
I have told her,
invested.
please, please, please contact me about anything education related, and I will be happy to give you my opinion.
Answer to your question, the other option is to go to a different school where they're gonna assess your scores and say, all of these 5 classes don't meet, so that way you can pay us more money. So if she goes somewhere else, she basically goes further back. What's that?
So one of the statistics I use in
It doesn't matter. The schools nowadays, so when I went to University of Phoenix, right, when they changed my degree was locked in. They had to give me the classes that were on my degree. That's no longer the stance anymore. Her degree plan changes every year or every quarter. She has to go back and work with them to figure out how to get into those classes. That's how she ended up in the situation of, you don't need this class. And then 2 months later, it's, no, you need that class. And then 2 months later, it's, no, you don't need that class. And then 2 months later, it's, yes, you do need that class. She goes on to campus. Yes, we have a room locked up for you. You're all set for the year. 2 months later, she finds out that 2 weeks ago, she had to go sign a document to keep her room. So now she doesn't have a room.
So one of the
And
statistics.
they do the same thing with classes.
Well, thank you. Higher education, and Lily told me a lot about it yesterday. I'm focused on K through 12 and have been because of the bill. But
Yeah. And I mean, we have a lot of things going on, but I just wanted to kind of discuss that. So at some point, people understand where we're going, you know, with our education system.
well, one of the charts from the PEA that came out last year that I used shows a graph of statistics that administrative hires, well, we are not calling administrative below. 76%. Student enrollment, 3%.
Right?
So when you look at the graph and the disparity between the two, that is the problem. And we keep throwing money after it with no accountability.
You have to get members of the school boards that will vote out the administrators that are going to have it.
I mean,
Well, I
honestly, you guys see, they have an administrator that is over social media communications. How absurd that we pay someone, I don't even know what it is,
It's almost
probably
$100,000
$100,000 a year to battle parents on social media. That is an actual position in our schools. And a lot of this administration is put there to fight the parents. I mean, I homeschooled my kids for the last 3 years. But I was a parent that was fought by our system, by this administration who makes 76% of our budget, and it's not going to teachers, and it's not going to students, it's going to these ridiculous admin positions. I don't know what the solution is, but
Well, we have a
it is a
solution,
problem.
a temporary one right now, it's not me. But, so you know, there's 11 superintendents in Texas right now that are making work 300 posts. That is what is contributing to the administrative load, and then they keep promoting. Two things. I am so in favor of the teachers, the direct educators to the teachers and to the students getting on those boards. They need to be involved in the decision-making process. They are so detached now. I admire trustees that are elected. We need the community. We need the family representation. But we need those teachers on those boards.
Amen.
But here's the second thing. Representative Brian Harrison out of Midlothian, Ellis County, has filed a bill, which James, he's the best chief of staff in the entire House. He told me that Representative Harrison has already filed a bill capping all superintendent salaries to what the governor makes, which is $100,000. Woo! So that's anyway. So,
Give him a star test. Can you pass this?
Has anybody here the population of
Speak up. Can't hear you.
I'm sorry, Denver Garden.
Come closer.
I'm nobody, but they're Operation Paperclip started right after World War II, when our government brought scientists that were Nazis into our country to infiltrate all the universities. I would like to encourage all of you to go ahead and Google this and find out your history.
All right, I'm gonna lie a little bit. My name is Gina Bolderama. I'm Christian Chair 22. First of all, I want to thank Helen for doing this. This is so wonderful. I want to encourage some of our leaders. Helen's not going to be able to do this every month. I encourage our commissioners. You guys put something together. Make something like this for all of us once a month.
We hold court twice a month, and our court is open to anybody and everybody, and we can certainly have many discussions. There are so many topics. There will be approximately 9,000 bills presented on that many topics. You know, what we're covering in here today in the conversation, imagine being in Austin, the two sides of the equation, and the hours of the time that it takes on each and every one to try to make that happen in 140
But let me
days.
point out, your commission reports are during the day. A lot of these people could make it.
Good one.
So if you could do something like this on a Saturday or a Thursday night, Thursday evening, where people could actually attend. I know it's really difficult for those of us who actually.
I'm just one of us in the room, and I'm just saying that if this facility is available, I am more than happy anytime to meet anybody anywhere.
And,
So that's all we could do.
Yeah.
and it's so important to go to your councils, to go to court, to go to your school boards.
Yep.
Get involved.
Show up.
Yes, but while we're talking about all this wonderful stuff that we're going to do in this session, and I believe that we will and we can, the only way we cannot make a lot of this happen is if we don't get the speaker we need. If we don't get the speaker we need, none of this matters.
Yep.
Right? We'll just be here spinning our wheels, talking about things we need and what we want. But if we can't get it to the floor, then we don't have it, we have nothing. So what I want to do is I want to give you some hints on how you can reach out to these people. I know calling them, emailing them, they're probably getting bombarded by stuff like that. What you need to do is you need to reach out to their constituents. Right. There's only one way you can do that today, and that's through social media.
Yep.
You cannot go on to these people's, to these leaders' sites and post on their sites. But what you can do is you can do what's called trolling. Whatever. Trolling is basically going into their comments. When they post something, you go in and you comment. Or you comment under a comment. Now, keep in mind, if you take something and you write it, copy and paste it, you could do it a few times. But the more you do it, the more the algorithms are going to catch you. Once they do that, they'll take you off social media. You cannot do that. So what you need to do is make a statement, go into their site, go into the comments, post it, change a couple of words, post it again. Keep posting it. Say, hey, I need your leader to vote the right way. Okay? So do that. Also email, text. There is one thing I want a little bit of clarification. Is on the email addresses, it says it's the name at blah, blah, blah. But is it lowercase? Is there a dot in between? Okay, so it's just her name, all lowercase. Send emails, make phone calls, leave messages. Probably can't talk to the leader themselves. You do, be nice, be polite, don't threaten, but tell them the bylaws or the laws of the RPT or the caucus require that you support the candidate that was voted on.
Well, it's not required, it's the problem. It's the law in the House rules. So we will hopefully address that. And vote on House rules after starting when it is shall. So, but the thing is, Dustin Burrows and the 26 that walked out, half of them wrote those rules in the last session. So even though the verb is not as strong as required, right, he committed to that. So that's another thing. Let me, Gina, did you draw this up?
No, she did.
Are these cell phones?
Yes.
We can not call cell phones.
No. Those are the office phones.
No, the office is right here.
Yeah, there's two phones here. Well, then those are cell phones.
Okay, go.
That's even better.
Okay. I may be living back in Glenrose, if y'all still.
Yeah.
Do not call those already called.
It's their district office.
This is called district office?
Yeah. District office cell phones.
No cell phones. Okay. Call either.
One cell phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. One cell phone, that's the third number.
Let me just clarify on the emails. It's first.last@house.texas.gov. That's the proper form. First.last. And it'll be the same on the 14th when we get state emails. Helen.Kerwin@house.texas.gov. Any of these guys, first.last@house.texas.gov.
And again, please don't threaten. Please don't say it's better. Just say it is important for us to support our caucus nominee so that we can unify our Republican Party once and for all. It's been decades since we have not had these 4 Republican groups in our House. 4. And I know we are very independent-minded as Republicans. Democrats fall in line. And the problem with that is it's hard to get our message through. It's so important to unify this session. So please don't threaten me.
Yeah, if you go to the social media and you want to connect with constituents, try to have conversations with them. If you study somebody's social media, you'll study their social media page, you'll see somebody that's going to comment every single time. You know, they're going to go and they're going to be, you know, that leader's one of their big fans, you know, big fanboy, fan girl. Find those fanboys and fangirls and connect with them as much as you possibly can and let them know. Please get the word out. Do what we're doing here today with y'all and take it to them, and then they can do the same thing. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, next issue that I campaigned on, you all know, are eliminate property tax. Yeah, I know. I'm determined. I had to work on the forever chemical first. It's taken me since November 5th to get this done. I am in constant contact with the author of the bill, Russell Bennett. Who all knows Russell Bennett? So we are calling reps one at a time where Russell can explain this legislative proposal that he's drawn up on the bill. Now, right now, it is for eliminating all property taxes. The M&O, which is 65% of your property taxes anyway, which is the big one. But then you have your taxing entities, the school board, the city, the county, all of the other districts, highway board, et cetera. This bill takes them all on. So it's slow going, but we are getting there. And I just wanted you to know that I'm working on it. We may have to draft more of a beginning pilot bill to get the door open on the floor. If we just do M&O maybe this session, and then we can do city, county, hospital, whatever the next session. We just have to get it. It doesn't get out of committee. Russell has had filed, I think, 3 sessions.
It's been filed 6 times.
It's been filed 6 times, and it is because it's wipes off the whole system. And the problem that I'm having when I talk to the reps is it's drastic. What are you going to replace it with? We can't fund our EDS departments. We can't fund our, how are we going to do this? It's an in-depth bill. When you read it, it makes sense. But I think it's going to be a big battle to get it through all at once. So I promise you, if we do, I'm going to file it and keep going, but I'm also going to look at the alternative of maybe beginning a pilot program. Let's try it. Let's try it in sample districts. Let's try it for 6 months or a year. Let's try it for the session. Let's at least get the door open, get a eliminated property tax in the committee, in a hearing, on floor, so we can debate it. These elected officials are scared to death of it. I mean, I got natural term limits, right, at my age, so I do not have to worry about, my constituents are not going to vote for me, or I'm going to, I don't have to worry about that. Most of them do worry about that. EPT is the biggest fear to retain votes. So, it's a mountain to climb, but we're getting there.
What does his bill replace property tax with?
Consumption.
CAD bill. Okay.
CAD bill.
Okay, wait, what was your question?
My question is, what does he replace property tax with?
Well, right now it's called a consumption tax, and we all love that idea.
Put it in everyday terms, sales tax, VAT tax, something like that.
All of it.
It's that,
And the
yeah.
consumption tax is the big umbrella, and everyone loves that. When I talk to these reps, yeah, but it's voluntary. That's good, that's a good thing. We don't have to worry about elimination, and schools are gonna suffer, it's gonna have, but when you dig deeper, it hits the business community with what's called a VAT tax, which is a cascading tax on the product. Conceptually, I think it's great, but they've been using it in Europe for a long time. Inflation is high in Europe.
Right.
Socialism, of course, is one of the big drivers of why it's so high in Europe. We are different. It's hard to get that message across. So, Dwayne, you want to talk more about it? The EPP?
No.
And the tax issue?
If you get me started, we'll be here all day.
Okay.
I refuse to call you a lame duck.
I'm planning on doing 2 terms, because I see it takes a while to do a lot of this. Again, you never know.
CAD bill.
Okay, CAD bill. This changed last night.
Central appraisal districts. So everybody knows.
Oh, Central Appraisal District, who appraises the value of your property. Everyone knows that. Okay, because of what happened in Johnson County over the last year, I did not know anything about this until I filed a year ago, but because of Craig Hunley, Greg Cooper, and John Wood, and who else is here that's on the board?
Dwayne.
Dwayne is another.
Tina White.
Of course, yes. What a force to be reckoned with. I wish all of you were in Austin.
Larry.
Wow. Right? And of course, Jim Cockrell, what a great man. I'm so sorry we lost him, but he was a force too. Okay, so what I learned in the last year, Peter, of course, taught me a lot. He is. The disparity in appraisals over the last 4 decades is stunning. I mean, I looked at his charts, and I think they were multifamily. Square footage differences was in the hundreds and thousands of dollars. Obviously, something's wrong. So after learning a little bit more about it, I decided that I think that maybe we need to elect the chief appraiser. What do you think? And of course, a lot of people will go, well, who are they accountable to? Well, of course, they'll be accountable to the board.
Yes.
And now we have a board due to this force of Army.
First in the state of Texas.
First in all 254 counties, Johnson County. It's historic.
Yeah.
Leader.
Did that. And, okay, let me hold on, let me lose my thought. What is so amazing is that all of them are not random citizens appointed by the school, appointed by the county. They are experienced in real estate, they're experienced in numbers, they are qualified. So you get a board like that elected, which now the bill has 3. I'm changing that to 5. Hopefully I can get that in. These people will have the majority of the vote. So, and they will apply, because I had a very strong opponent to this yesterday when we were driving home from Sid Miller's, and she said, government cannot hire unqualified. There are so many. Well, you're going to interview them. You're going to give them an application, you have set criteria, you have the board that's going to be making the decision. I think it's a great idea. So I am hoping to get a bill, that's my next bill, well, EPT too, but to take care of the CAD and make it accountable and transparent, which these guys already did, but keep it going in that direction. Larry.
So I'm Larry Trammell, elected to the CAD board. I was one of the folks that served on the subcommittee to create the 3-year appraisals instead of I think I've developed what would be a dissenting position on electing the chief appraiser, and here's why. And I'm very excited electing everybody. I want you to re-elect the entire category. I want all of them to be elected. The reason I don't think the chief appraiser should be elected, he's not on the category. He's not on the category. He reports to us. So the problem is, how many people here in this room know the requirements of the job of the chief appraiser? Yeah, one. Exactly. Right. Because we studied it. Tina White and I know. Wayne knows. He knows.
Larry, you should also,
Let's hear it first.
Yeah.
I just want to have him add to this. When was the last reappraisal plan written?
Yeah. The last reappraisal plan was written before our most recent chief appraiser took office.
40 years ago.
And he was there for 40 years.
Yeah.
I mean, he took office sometime after that. But it's been a very long time.
It's been at least 25 years.
Yeah, Tina and I looked at that plan, and I swear to God, it was just notes.
Yeah.
They were just notes on a page that made no sense whatsoever. So let me get back to my point. My point is, I believe that you have elected and you will elect, I would like for you to elect every person on the category. And we study this stuff. We understand it. Tina is a recruiter. I've hired thousands of employees over my career. And we know how to do that. And I submit that the regular taxpayer doesn't. And right now, in fact, the chief appraiser, before we can hire one, they have to have a very specific certification, designation. And you wouldn't know that. And so I'm concerned.
I want to tag on that. Granted, most of my experience is from California, but in a lot of cities in California, they'll have an elected treasurer. Sometimes the treasurer will be appointed to 3. And I've heard stories here in Texas. That elected person rarely shows up.
Yep.
The staff is doing work, not the person who has the title. So that's my concern in being an elected appraiser is you'll get someone who has the credential, because I presume that area law will still remain in place. There won't be a lot of people running necessarily. The other thing is, as a recruiter, I know this, we do reference checks, we do backgrounds. There are bad apples. There are people who get run out of town somewhere else. Maybe they get severance package, maybe they don't. And then they go get elected somewhere and try to get them out of office if they're not good, at least with the board doing a due diligence process, right?
Right.
You're going to do a background, you're going to dig out dirt if there is dirt and do that out in person. And if they're not doing a good job, they can be released.
Right.
If someone is in office and they're not showing up and you're not doing a good job, can you recall them, or do you have to wait 4 years in order?
Yeah, the point is, it's extremely difficult. Right now, as an elected official, I would have to kill somebody for you to remove me from office. And we don't want that for the county, because I have seen too many elected officials that don't show up to work. And let me tell you what happened when Dwayne and I and Tina and others took over the category. We went in and we spoke directly to the chief appraiser and said, we are your new boss. If you don't do what we want you to do, we will fire you. I have had to fire people. I've had to fire friends. But if you're not doing the job, you need somebody there strong enough to fire them. And I'm telling you, you can't do it if you're elected.
That's right. So I just want to ask you a question about this. So what you're asking us is to put a term on the position that you guys have, right? You want to be elected, and then you want to choose.
Right.
Okay, just because I'm kind of.
It has to be a majority of
yes, right.
Yeah, you elect those of us who you trust. to hire the right person. Because it's just one person. So that's my position.
Larry, you need to explain that part of the board is elected by citizens at large. Part of the board is elected by the taxing.
Yeah, right now, the board only has 3 elected members. Tina, I, and Mike Mizell, and
Scott.
Amy. Well, I'll get to him in a moment. Thank you for saying that. Also, the tax assessor collector is an elected position, and he serves on the board. He's not elected to be on the board. He's elected to be the tax assessor collector. But anyway, the point is, the other 5 are appointed by the taxing entities. And I'm not crazy about that. In fact, I'm very much against it. I have to say, I don't want the taxing entities putting their guy in there saying, you have to make sure that that chief appraiser appraises at the highest level he can so we can get more money. You think I might be mad about that? Yeah, I'm mad about that.
But Larry,
Yes.
if people don't know, we need to let them know that we're the first to tell our taxing entities to support our citizens.
Yeah, thanks to Kerwin and Wendy's people's money.
And all the appointed members are.
Yeah, that's really true. You work very hard. I'd like to see Mr.
Let me tell you something that this current board has done. Maybe not all of you. Okay, I'll speak up. What Peter Svensson, the current board, and if you notice, the economy is terrible, inflation is terrible. How many of you know that D.R. Horton houses are being reduced by 15%, which means your kids bought a house for $300,000, the next door neighbor bought one for $250,000. They just lost $50,000 in equity. Okay, this is going on. But this current CAD board put in a stipulation, whereas if values go down, taxes go down. That I applaud you for, because you're going to see a big uptick of houses selling. There's more houses than buyers. And when people look at 2 things, not just their payment, they look at the interest rate, but they look at their property tax. And the property tax is scaring these young buyers. And then they look at the insurance. By the time you put that together, they become renters.
So Tina, to answer your question, I think that a lot of what you're saying should be controlled in the contract with the chief appraiser.
Sure.
So that the board does have the right to fire for non-compliance, non-performance, whatever. And I think that should be an option. But I also, Larry, with your argument, I think that this is the case of everybody. Commissioners, mayors, school board. How many of us do the research for the candidates? This would have to be a requirement. And with your board, the way it is, and hopefully we'll continue with the experience and the credibility, that will always be the case.
I would like to see chief appraisers be at-will employees, not have contracts.
I'm going to have to study that and get back to you.
And limit salaries to the governors like superintendents.
I don't know about this.
If you make the chief appraiser an elected position, even if you make it somehow or another, you figure out how to make it for this elected position, of course, the elected board. I think it's gonna be very, very difficult to control an elected position. That chief appraiser is gonna have to be an employee of the board.
Amen.
In order to control him in any form of fashion.
Exactly.
You can't go support a bill that would make the chief appraiser an elected position.
It's like a city manager.
Well,
City manager.
Correct. Correct. City
How is that
managers,
different?
school board superintendents, emergency services district executive directors, they all follow that same model. The elected board hires the chief executive.
Yeah, and Helen, to your
well, I
point,
think the contract is,
to your point about whether that person, the chief appraiser, has an employment contract, it's simply a matter of negotiation. That's all it is. When I was CEO of a company, I had an employment contract. I was in very high demand. They wanted to make sure I didn't leave. However, in this position, a lot of the folks don't have employment contracts, and some of them do. So this board, under Dwayne's leadership, is going to determine whether we offer an employment contract to this chief appraiser. And surely it won't be 5 years or even 3 years, maybe it's 1 year, but we can decide that. We don't have to give it one.
Yes.
The issue though is it's a competitive field.
Yeah.
They have to have certain requirements they meet in terms of their certification.
Exactly.
And if we want to hire somebody at will, no contract, nobody's gonna leave a job where they've got a 1 or 2 year contract taking that will job. That's why I think we need legislation that says chief appraiser's contract job is eliminated. They're an at-will employee of the board.
I like that.
But that had to be passed along.
Yeah.
Because it had to apply everywhere.
Yeah.
We can't do it here. Because we won't wind up getting a decent chief
Yeah.
appraiser.
I'll look into that. Questions, John?
Yeah, one thing I'd like to point out is that the CAD board has a duty to 2 people, to 2 groups. One is the taxpayer, the other are the beneficiaries of the taxes. And it's a balance point. Now we are moving away from only for the schools, because the cities, they have a marginal stay in it, but the schools are desperate to keep control. If we change it to an all elected group, there will be enormous pushback from the schools. So it's going to be a hard haul. But once it happens, then they will be putting their candidates up like the normal process. But there will be a lot, because TASB, TEA, they're going to scream like they've been pinched in a door.
Yeah.
And so that has to be thought out, and a strategy needs to be made, because I was appointed, and I had to go and see all the schools and see the cities to get their appointment. And I made the promise I'm going to look out for both of them. But just fair warning, it ain't going to be fun to do. It's going to be ugly.
I'm going to readdress my questions. I am part of it. So, Kayla, I'd be interested in hearing, here's our.
Oh, I'm John Wood. She just yelled at me.
Kayla is our Rockstar School Board.
Yes. And Michael Ansey from Burlington. Thank you.
Yes, of course. I would like to hear from the inside. What is your take on this?
Well, I can say from our district, our board, we're not gonna have a problem supporting citizens going on in school. You may run into issues with bigger problem districts that we don't have to name or know who they are, when you look across the state, that because they're run poorly, they're very inefficient with the dollars that the citizens pass to them. And the main reason I got on the board was I want financial integrity in what goes on. I want our children to be educated. But it takes a combination of a both for the system, along with parents and students, to make that work. So if you have a district that may have problems, that's probably we'll see more pushback than those that operate in an environment of transparency and cooperation within the community itself.
Yeah. Okay.
Michael Nancy.
Burleson.
By the way, I'm Helen. I'm emailing you about the nomination. And thanks all for y'all's vote. I would just like to say, I've gotten a lot of flack as a trustee because I represent the people. The people elect trustees to the board, and TASB indoctrinates these board members that we represent the district and the superintendent. That is not the role of an elected official. I represent the taxpayers that elected me. So I would have no problem with a total CAB board elected by the people, because I represent the people. I will tell you that there are board members and there are districts that don't represent the people. They represent their own interests, and those people will have a problem with that. But we have boxing gloves, and we can have that fight. So, TASB is the Texas Association of School Boards. They do a lot of trainings for these boards, and they indoctrinate these board members to be a team of 8 and to represent the district and the board, and not be accountable to the people that elected them. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox, but I would fully support it.
Thank you, Greg.
Me too. Greg Cooper again. I'm 100% exactly as Kayla. I think they should all be elected. However, that you can't always get what you want. A possible solution alternative with 9 elected CAD members. If you had 5 done by the people, and you put it, you already have an infrastructure base with precincts. You have 4 precincts. You could have precincts that are pushed for by the schools. The schools, the taxing entities themselves could work through the precincts if you had to come to a middle ground. Again, I'm 100% with Kayla. I think that, and yes, there are districts like Burleson, Godly did come around, Grandview ISD, that supported and understand the taxpayers' role in this, and don't get narrow focused, but always have to think for multiple alternatives because of the collaboration needed in
Well,
Austin.
my bill
How'd you get our bill draft?
actually has 5.
Sorry?
How'd you get our bill draft?
Oh, really?
But my bill actually has 5. It exists now 3, but I want to bring it up to 5 so the elected officials have the majority vote on the board. So that is the bill I'm going to file. I've not decided what to do with the chief appraiser after listening to y'all. I'm not sure about that, but thank you for your input.
Call me if you want to talk about it. Call me if you want to talk about it.
I'm so proud of having thinking the election cycle.
I don't understand why the tax assessor collector's on the board.
I don't either.
It's just so lands directly to inside.
I feel sorry for him.
Yeah.
I mean, like, he needs to come to one more night meeting and I bet you if you polled them, they all want to be off. And it would just give us one more spot that who wants to be there.
Yeah.
Somebody who wants to be there versus someone who's required to be there.
Yeah.
Or think in the past, it was always.
Or one, well, we need an odd number to break time. Yeah.
No.
So we see an odd number, so we try to get 7 or 9, but I'd say let them off.
I haven't seen him at a CAD board meeting, I can't tell you what, and he's a good guy.
He's a good guy, but it's, and we've all of us on the board have admitted, we don't always agree. We don't, and so.
You're not supposed to.
You're right, so for a closed session or even an open session, and I think it's uncomfortable for him. Because we're okay not agreeing, but I think it's uncomfortable for him, and it's someone who wants to be the tax assessor collector. I'm not trying to, paint them with a broad brush, but they're not necessarily into interpersonal conflict. And
Thank you. So, I can't thank you enough. This is what I want to see, all the different perspectives, so I can take it to Austin. I know there are issues that some of you have that haven't spoken up yet on the school and the taxes and the CAB boards. Anyone want to go ahead and another subject, Jesse?
Hey, Jesse, why don't we just do away with independent school and put it under the county? That way you only got 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Paying another $100,000, $500,000
The local control.
If I may, I've said for years, administratively in our school districts, when I get my taxes, I'm a taxpayer too. I'm looking at these school boards, I'm looking at the costs of M&O and all these school districts. And many of you that are in education, remember when the role that the state paid the counties, their portion was about 70%, we taxpayers paid about 30%. So that has flipped over the years.
Yes.
We're about 70–80% now total paying, but when you consider bond elections, building campuses that are extraordinary, or building stadiums, The state of Texas is not gonna fund brick and mortar. They said their value is on, I think it's $1,200 or $1,300 per seat in these schools. And they submit, the comptroller submits to the central appraisal. And probably the hot seat that Scott Porter's in is because like the Commissioner's Court, there's always a myth that we, you know, to Larry's point, and I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I can honestly tell you here in Johnson County, we don't put pressure on our board members. And we were the first to welcome this in to bring forth change in the system. But until you start, and we are seeing some schools, Richardson ISD, I think, is eliminating some of their older campuses. The M&O on these older campuses, which are full of asbestos and all things that our kids are exposed to, so the voucher system on one way, whether it be homeschooling or however that's going to be funding, but these school districts in and of themselves, until you get the control of the dollars, we're never going to see a break. And it's certainly, you know, when you start talking about mascots in schools, you know, we are of the age of, you know, Friday night football. You know, you start talking about taking away some of that from people, then you're going to hear the rumblings of, oh, we can't go that way. We need, you know, there's a good example, and no disrespect to our rock football stadium out here. There are so many people that want to see a huge campus or a huge football stadium built right here at the expense of taxpayers. I hear from all aspects.
Right. I think it's changing though.
It is changing, but is it going to change with the population growth that we have fast enough?
I think it's a generation.
We are posed in this county, folks, by the year 2035 to be 365,000 people in Johnson County. Wow. We were 179,000 in the 2020 census. We're currently 205,000. That's in 4 years. And it is coming. And help me out here. The Builders Association is strong in regards to coming in and building whatever they can do. And we have no control of it here. So that's let the population growth and the schools, the density in these schools. And you know, whether this voucher bill is going to pass or not is yet to be determined.
Not vouchers.
Yeah, okay.
School choice.
Well, any of that is passed or not will be decided by voters again in the next
Well, we have people like the godly heroes over here that are leading the charge, and I think to change. And I think it's a generational change. I don't think it's going to happen in the next session or the session afterwards. But because of people like Kayla, I think that people are fed up. They're fed up with the football stadiums. Well, when you look at that chart, and you look at the distribution of the growth, if only anyone would understand this is wrong. It's spending. It
is.
I'd like to interject on that point, though. I've run for school board twice in Godly, and I've had conversations with people on several occasions, you know, about trying to help people understand that the spending is the problem. They're not understanding, you know, and you have to roll it back. Well, we spent all this money here, and then we spent money again, and then we spent, and here we are. Because, oh, we have to have more buildings because more kids are coming. And so to get them to understand, and so I'm having conversations with people, and what I'm getting, to your point a little bit, is that people want these stadiums, these stadiums, these grand things, because it's status. They don't care. They want people in their district that are going to come buy more expensive houses. They're going to spend money so they can get the facilities that they want, which that's going to, you know, bring in more money for athletics. And it's the system that they want in place. But people like us have got to get above those voices and say, I don't care if you want your kid playing in the best stadium. That's not what's best for us. So our voices have got to start to get louder.
Well,
you know, we've got to get people showing up.
Okay, so we have the bill to where now on the bond election ballots, now they have to put the language that this is a property tax increase. The problem is the schools have wised up to this, And in their advertising, they lie to the constituents and they say, these bonds will not increase their taxes. That's not what the legal language says. So is there something we can do legislatively to ban these school districts from lying to the public in these advertisements for their bonds? And they're basically telling the public that the bond ballot doesn't mean what it says. So is there something we can do to stop these superintendents from lying? Because the public, they do want these nice stadiums, and if they have a superintendent that's telling them it's not going to increase your taxes, well, it's very hard to beat those. We've luckily beat the last 2 bonds anonymously by knocking on every door, but these superintendents are lying to the public and saying it's not increasing the
The
taxes.
legislature idea is fantastic, Kayla, and I am thinking disclosure. Jane, you might be able to help me with this as far as relating it to bond elections. I would love that, because that's a great idea.
It's a problem.
It's a problem, and you and Joshua actually got onto the signs. It will be a tax hike. Because they never disclose.
And I'll tell you the loophole right now, and I haven't told her this yet, so I'm sorry to put you on the spot. The loophole, when your cities raise your property taxes, this is a tax increase on your ballot. When your school district does it, that language isn't there.
Language is there.
It is there.
It is. On the ballot, it is.
And it has to be in caps.
The problem is
And
the
a certain size font.
They're lying about it. They're saying the state tells us we have to put this in the ballot, but it's not true.
Okay. So
And they don't put it.
I had one on my ballot that didn't have it, and there's a loophole about that we need to get fixed. And I know folks are looking at it.
What's the loophole? Emergency situations?
No, it was, I don't know.
I'd like to know about that.
I would too. I haven't found out yet.
So regarding the bonds, unfortunately, the bond mechanism is the in-place mechanism needed to build new schools. Problem is, it's horribly abused. And when talking these property tax issues, a lot of people think we're going to have property tax relief and all this. We could have all the property tax relief in the world and completely eliminate property taxes the way that the EPT bills is written. These bonds, everybody needs to remember, these are agreements that are with the local community and the school district and the people that are issuing those bonds. Those are not going to go away by elimination of property taxes. So if you think in your mind that you're going to be eliminating property taxes through legislation at the state level, your local debt through these bonds, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, because this is the way I understand it, but a $300 million bond in an individual school district, that debt will still need to be paid through property taxes, because those are legal agreements. So remember this over time as these begin to pop up.
I think one of the things that we need to remember, right, is that a lot of the, I don't want to use the word corruption, right, but you have situations like Godly ISD, right, where the school board, even though you have multiple people like Nova and Kayla who have gone out there and have brought to light, you don't need $900 million bond to provide schools for the next 10 years for a school district that currently has 2,700 people. Right? They'd like to come out, and I came out 2 years ago and said, well, we need it for 10 years, because in 5 years we're going to be 5 times the size of people. Okay? Now we're 3 years into that, and we're nowhere near that growth that the projected 5 years is going to be at. Right? But then you go look at the school district, and even though you have these things going out every door, and people shoot down the bond, the people still go in and elect the school board trustees that are pro-bond. Because the school district is utilizing money to go fund and market those school board members. Well, those are the people that are showing up at every Friday football game. And I see Jeff Neal out there shaking hands and waving with everybody every week. Right? He shows up in the morning and opens the doors for people to get out of the car. Right? So the popularity comes. Right? Those same board members are now being elected on are just blanketly going along with whatever the school board superintendent recommends. Right? So that we need more school board members that are going to be similarly taking that job, like Larry was talking about. My job coming in is to say, look, I'm your new boss. You tell me why you should have this job and why next year right? Another problem with the school boards, right, is that superintendent gets his contract extended every year. His 5-year contract, every year they go in and extend it another year, right? This year we were pushing the Godly ISD, right? Don't extend his contract. Don't give him a raise. Your school ratings have gone down historically almost since the guy got in office. Yet every year you're extending his contract for doing a poor job and giving him a raise for doing a poor job.
Well, and along that line, Helen, is there something we can do to stop these superintendents from electioneering? Because I've caught Rachel electioneering red-handed, and I can't get any entity to hold her accountable. No one will. The Secretary of State, the Ethics Commission, no one will. How can I hold? Because it's hard to get candidates elected. I don't even know how to elect them, honestly. It's like an accident. I broke the algorithm. I don't know. I was never supposed to be elected. But it's hard to get these people elected because the superintendent is using taxpayer dollars to mail out mailers and advocate for their candidates.
And has no fear, right? Because if he gets caught, he defends himself with the taxpayers' money.
Mail out mailers with it, because that happened to me. I had a lot of lies put out about me. I had to get a whole slew of mailers.
They were all true.
Hey, Helen. But that's what we need to do, is we need to get the truth.
Yeah, well, Dillon and I can't still
Helen, let me just say something. Let me tell you where the rubber meets the road. Go to BRB, Bond Review Board. Godly owes $237 million, okay? But they haven't been paying on the bond. So they're accumulating interest at a higher rate. They owe now $420 million. They're bankrupt. So sure, they want to get more money to get them out of the hole. But they should get more money. And I think the people are fighting because they tried to float 2 more bonds, right, Greg?
Yeah, 889 and 365.
800-something another for 2, and they're not buying it anymore, okay? But that's a reality. Don't just look at what they borrowed on the bond, but because they don't pay it, think about it. Would you be bankrupt if you owed $2,370 and all of a sudden it jumped to $400,000 and $4,000, you know, for the average person? So they are bankrupt.
I don't know how well represented Glen Rose is in this room. I think it's more Godly and stuff like that, but I'm from Glen Rose. We have a different issue as far as our school districts are concerned, which I know you're probably really familiar with. I guess I have more of a question as far as our big issue is being drained because we have the power plant. We're being drained by recapture.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So I'm really interested as far as Austin is concerned because that's who's doing it. And I think we've really figured out in our school district that it's not really going to what they said it was going to. Is there any chance of that getting restructured, anything like that? Because our bonds have honestly saved us in a lot of ways. I know it's very different. I've compared it to Godly School District. A lot of the I work for the Glen Rose Reporter, but we have some really great people who work in our administrative as far as finance. They're amazing. They've saved our butts a lot of times. There's no reason that we should have a deficit budget other than recapture. And we fight against it every year, and it's just getting worse. What can we do about that?
We need to get superintendent below in a meeting, we need to report to the people, and we need to look at it. I haven't had to get it in my press, going to some of the schools. I mean, because it's so successful.
We can't hear on this side of the room.
But I need to do that in my meeting. I must be dead.
No, we can't.
She's talking about the following.
So for those that don't know recapture, because you're right, you guys are in a bad spot in Glen Rose. Johnson County, so recapture. So people think that you build all these homes, all these people move here, and then all that new property tax revenue will go to the schools. That's not how it works. TEA determines how much the school gets. When the property value, the taxable property value goes beyond what TEA says you can get, the state forces the local communities to continue to tax at a higher rate. They recapture that money. You'll hear the slang term Robin Hood, take from the rich, give to the poor. And so they will be forced to be taxed at a higher rate to subsidize districts that don't generate enough tax revenue. We in Johnson County right now benefit from districts like Glen Rose, Aledo, South Lake Carroll, There's around a little less than 200 districts that are being recaptured right now. Hundreds of millions of dollars. Their citizens are being overtaxed. So districts like Godly, who builds this stuff but can't support it, and 50% of their budget comes from state general fund through recapture and other stuff, they're abusing that. But at some point here, when growth comes here, you guys will be continue to be taxed at a higher rate when your taxable values go up if recapture is not restructured. That's a big issue. Somerville County is huge.
Well, we had $6 billion last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
$6 billion just to recapture. And it's not going
No.
to, it was originally set up to go to like underfunded, underprivileged, like lower tax
Yes.
status districts, and that's not what's happening.
It became a volleyball.
And eventually, as growth comes, you won't get relief without recapture being changed.
Yeah.
That's
There's
big.
just as much financial corruption in that recapture
Yeah.
as there is in your regular ISD.
Yeah. Think lottery and how they misrepresented
So
that.
another idea is to look at financial transparency, right? If the ISDs are primarily funded by taxpayer dollars, why is it that we have to ask the ISDs to disclose their financial budget? It should be 100% transparent, posted on the website all of the time. The detailed budget, not an 11 line item budget.
All of the tax entities need to be transparent, all of it. And my office is going to be, every time we have it. We need to go ahead and finish that yourself. Dan Roberts, beloved Dan Roberts, I was only earlier one of the most special people I ever met. She's passed away. So this is being run by Jimmy here. So I would like to ask all of you maybe a $10 donation before you leave. Order if you're hungry or you want something to drink. I should have announced this earlier. But it's such a special place in Cleburne. So.
Okay, I'm putting in 20. I'll challenge everybody to put in at least 10.
You gotta get it.
Because we want this place to stay open and it won't if we don't.
Okay,
Another laugh.
Well, I'm Vicki Spencer, and I would just like you to know, I have children that live in an enormous school district at Northwest in Tropicana. They have everything in the world, a 5-layer orchestra that is unbelievable. But we went to their school football games where our son was a homecoming team, and I kept asking my daughter, when is the other team going to, audience going to come? And there was hardly anybody in the stands. Now, I grew up with a full stadium at Cleburne High School. My children grew up with a full stadium at Cleburne High School. We drove in caravans and traveled the teams all over the state. But it is not the same anymore. Kids do not go, we are too much. There's soccer. We have a lot of Hispanics that do soccer. There's very little. We do not have winning teams. They're very small. Other schools that do. But even the big schools like Northwest, they have big schools. People don't go to the football games. So why are they building these enormous stadiums? Our kids' school shares a stadium.
That's what our city did, by the way, in Iowa. Every high school, every middle school shared one big stadium in the entire city.
And their stadium
I'm in the front, right there.
If you want to support, there's money here.
You're not going to put it in your pocket, are you, John?